Hi, my name is Andy Barclay. I'm a biostatistician specializing in spatial statistics, and I'm going to give you a brief 5-minute tour of a mapping application that I've put together. This one shows 4 maps, and I can show any number of maps, and on each of the maps there's a transparent overlay that shows the intensity of some variable having to do with the community. So what I do is I specialize in statistics on child abuse and neglect. So I've put together some statistics related to that, along with some census variables and some delinquency statistics as well. So I'm going to focus on a community outside of Atlanta in Rockdale County, Georgia, just outside of Conyers, and here I'm zooming in on my maps. And the community I want to focus on is this community up here with a hot spot of child abuse and neglect outside of Conyers, and that is Lakeview Estates. And by hot spot I mean that the color scale here goes from green to red, with green being the coolest color and red being the hottest color. And the hotter colors are the areas with the highest amount of activity in each of these variables. In this one, in the upper left, this is showing the substantiated victims of child abuse and neglect during 2011. And we see that there are 2 hotspots in the community of Lakeview Estates. Now in this pane just to the right, that is showing the younger children, the children 0 to 4 who were victims of child abuse and neglect. And we see that the northeastern hotspot has gone away now, and we're just left with this southwestern hotspot. So that is where our young victims of child abuse and neglect were, in Lakeview Estates. And down here in the lower left pane, I'm showing the census count of children in the population in 2010, and that's fairly even with a little bit of a hot spot up here. Now in this pane on the lower right, I'm showing the youth that were adjudicated for violent crimes, so delinquent youth during 2011. Here's all the delinquent youth, and here are the youth with property crimes, and here are the youth with violent crimes. So as you can see, it's mostly probably non-violent delinquency, but there's a good bit of a delinquency here as well as this child abuse and neglect hotspot. And what else can I tell you about this? In the census variables, I have poverty. So you can see the poverty is centered down around the area where we're seeing the young victims of child abuse and neglect. People receiving cash assistance from the government, we don't have any in this area, interestingly. So a lot of poverty, and actually let me put poverty back up and zoom out so you can see what the rest of the county looks like. So that community is definitely the hot spot in the county for poverty. But as far as public assistance, we're not seeing a whole lot in that community. That goes elsewhere, this other community down here. So let me show you what else we can look at from this data. And now that we know that we're looking at a community here in Lakeview Estates, I can go out to the regular Google Maps application and I can find out a few more things about it. Let's take a look at the satellite on that and see what the housing stock looks like around Armour Drive, where our hotspot was. And it looks like a mix of freestanding homes and maybe quite a few mobile homes around there. Okay, so what else can we see about this? Google will show us photos if there are any. I don't see any photos here. Let's try Wikipedia. Yes, there is a Wikipedia page that's linked to this community. It's Lakeview Estates. And here's Wikipedia. Let's go out to the full article on that. If I can. Let's see. And Lakeview Estates, 2,637 in the population. So now we can find out a whole lot about this. It was founded by a woman named Miss Bailey. And that's about it. So you can see that you can link into a rich set of information webcams, I don't think there are any, that come from the rest of the Google Maps application, from just figuring out which area you want to focus in on. And that's it for me.